to about college. So we've got a couple different options for you guys, so go ahead and think about that. I'm going to submit an option even though I already am a student at APU. So let's see here. Oh, just kidding. Host and panelists cannot vote, so I can't vote. But I have my option in my mind. Alea, do you want to share what you would pick if you were able to vote on this poll?
I think definitely, if I could reflect back to 3 years ago, probably a mix of like being able to study things you like genuinely care about, because in high school you have to take everything. So I was really excited about diving into my major classes, and then of course 10 out of 10 the new friends and experiences and just college life, dorm life, all of the above.
10 out of 10. Danny, what about you?
Yeah, I would say the same as Alea. I think back at freshman year, I was just excited for a new adventure and new friends and new events and things to do.
Mateo?
For me, I think I was excited, one, for the academics and the opportunity to learn more about things that I'm passionate about, as well as going to a place that was going to prepare me for the next step, being prepared. So.
Yes, all good things. There's no right or wrong answer, that's for sure. If you're like me, you get excited about everything. And yeah, it's a good life to live. But again, feel free to send any questions in our Q&A chat. We are ready for you guys, and we will be thinking about those, and we'll get things started again in just a couple minutes. Oh, look, the results are here. So what are you most looking forward to? A lot of you, new friends and experiences. Sweet, probably because we all said that, so we made an influence. Getting involved on campus, super easy thing to do. You're all going to be set with that. Major in academics, definitely a plus. And athletic events, of course, you can't go wrong. So yes, all great things, all awesome things to look forward to, and that you will get to experience as a student at APU. But I love that new friends and experiences was the top one, because I think that that is a huge part of what APU is all about, which you're going to hear a little bit about that later in this event. So we are going to get things started. Once again, welcome to this webinar. We are so excited that each of you are here. How it's going to be set up is that we are going to play a couple videos for you guys. We're going to show you some different experiences of APU, what that looks like. And then we're going to have a question and answer time at the end, where myself and all of us students and Sarah, one of our admissions counselors, are going to answer any questions that you might have about being a student at APU. So my name is Natalie Day. I'm going to be your guys' host. And yeah, again, we're just really excited that you guys are here. So we are going to get things started with a video. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and then we will continue on with that. And now I'm going to do the process of sharing my screen, because it takes a minute. Here we go.
I'm a sociology major and I'm a senior. Initially, I actually came into APU with a different major, and I was really excited about that major, and I took a bunch of classes, and the people were amazing and the professors were awesome. But when I started to get deeper and deeper into it, I decided that I wasn't super sure about it anymore. So then I actually applied to study abroad in South Africa and got accepted. Entering it, I wanted to be as open-minded as I could and understand that people are incredibly different, and enter that with just grace and so much love. Sitting and listening to someone and learning their story and appreciating them is something that is so essential to just sharing the gospel and being a disciple of Jesus. I completely changed my mind and wanted to become part of the sociology major. Jesus was like, Hannah, you're gonna do this instead, and I want you to do this, and you're gonna thrive in this. And then I entered the major and met so many so passionate professors that just wanted to sit down and wanted you to excel and wanted you to succeed. And I felt like I was a team with them. I can just have so many different conversations where people can sit down with one another and be willing to listen and be willing to challenge one another and say, okay, tell me why you believe that, or tell me why you think this should change. Sociology majors are some of the most passionate people I've ever met, and I think that I'm really lucky and so honored to be a part of that.
So that is just a little insight as to what we do here. And yeah, that was a real student that was at APU. She did the whole experience, and clearly she loved it. but we want you to get a wide variety of students. So I'm going to, again, reintroduce myself and all these lovely faces that I have on here. So like I said earlier, my name is Natalie Day. I'm a senior here at Azusa Pacific. I am majoring in communication studies, and I have a minor in youth ministry, and I'm expected to graduate in May, which is so exciting, but also so stressful. And once again, as I keep saying, we're excited to have you here. So now I'm going to introduce a couple other interns. So Alea, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be with you all here tonight. My name is Alea. I am a junior at APU, which is also weird to say because it is flying by. I'm a communication management major. I used to be a liberal studies major for a quick second when I was here at APU, but I made the switch and now I get to call the comm department my home. So I'd love to share a little bit about that later. If you have any questions, send those in. I also get to study leadership for my minor, which is such a great time. And then my involvement at APU has just been a wide variety of things, from being able to get involved with one of APU's ethnic organizations like the Pacific Islander organization, serving and being a part of discipleship groups. Also have had tons of jobs on campus, so working for the library, obviously with admissions, which allows me the privilege to be with you here tonight, but also I'm interning right now with the Office of Corporate Worship, which is the fancy name for our chapel office. So any questions about chapel and what that looks like, I would love to share about that later on. So other than that, I'm just really excited and super juiced to see so many of you just here with us and excited to learn more about APU.
Sweet. Danny, you want to go ahead and go next?
Yeah, of course. Hi, I'm Danny. I'm a junior studying communication at APU. I'm expected to graduate in May 2022, so I've got another year and a half going, so I'm very excited about that. A couple things I've done on campus. I've been a part of the Alpha program on campus, which is for incoming freshmen to help them feel welcomed on campus. I also lived on campus for a little bit and was a part of a couple clubs on campus, like our anti-human trafficking club and our, trying to think what the other one was, our American Sign Language Club as well on campus. Other than that, I studied abroad through APU and also, yeah, Sarah's shaking her head. And then also led and was a part of a couple discipleship groups on campus as well, and the admissions job.
Great, so good. Mateo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey guys, like she said, my name is Mateo, and I'm a junior psychology major. I have been involved in a few ethnic organizations. I've been on the leadership team for our Pacific Islanders organization. I've been in Latinos Unidos as well as with our new mixed race club. I've modeled for my cultures and our costume. And I've also been involved in campus work as well. I had a couple jobs on campus, so I know what that's like. And like I said, I'm a psychology major, so any prospective psychology people in the chat, I'm your man. So any questions about that, go ahead and ask. I'd love to talk to you guys about that.
So good. And then Sarah, if you want to just introduce yourself, tell us what you do at APU and why you get to be a part of this event with us.
Yes, I would love to do that. So yes, my name is Sarah Hernandez, and I'm an admissions counselor at APU. So if you have any admissions related questions, I'm your girl. Shoot it in the Q&A box, and I'd love to answer any of those questions. I also graduated from APU, so I am an alum. I love APU a lot and came back to work as a staff member, which is so fun. So I graduated from APU and I studied kinesiology. So if that's something that you're also interested in studying, shoot it in the chat. And again, I'd love to answer any questions about that. I was involved, like Danny, in study abroad at APU. I got to go back to our study abroad organization and work there, which is how I got to meet Danny, which is so exciting. Yes. So I was involved in study abroad at APU. I had some different leadership positions as well as some work in professional development at APU too. So I love it a lot. Glad to be with all of you guys and glad to see that you're interested in coming to APU.
Great. So that's a little bit about who we are and what we're involved with. As I'm sure you picked up on, we each have these different interests. Some of us are studying different things or have studied different things. And this event really is for you guys as incoming college freshmen and what you want to know about APU. So if you have questions about each of our majors, if you have questions about majors in general, about what it's like to live on campus, literally anything about APU that you want to know from the perspective of a student, or if you want to ask Sarah a specific question about admissions, she's here for that as well. But we all went through the same process that you did, so chances are we all had the same questions that you did. And again, we want to welcome those with open arms. So if anything pops up in your head throughout this entire event, again, just send it in the Q&A chat and we will do our best to get to that. And again, hopefully give you a better insight as to who APU is and what we have. So I'm going to share another quick video with you guys about another student and their experience here. And then we will move on to the Q&A. And we can ask Q&A questions throughout the entire event. Go ahead and send them in whenever. So I'm going to share my screen again. Such a tricky process every time. I wish it went smooth. All right, let's do this.
Hi, my name is Kylan Brooks. I'm a junior here at Azusa Pacific, and I'm an entrepreneurship major. I was doing my accounting classes, and I was really just struggling the entire semester trying to get all the work done. And I was like, I really don't want to be an accountant. And it just like clicked for me right there. I was like, why don't you start your own business? My accounting professor was the one who encouraged me to pursue entrepreneurship. He actually told me a couple of his life experiences as an entrepreneur, and he kind of encouraged me more so to do it and told me the path I can take with it. I believe the leadership here from all the professors kind of guide the students to follow the correct path that they want to do and not something that someone else told them to do.
All right, and now it is time for Q&A. So we are going to start out with this first question. I think it's a great one to start with. And a student is asking, how can students participate in ministry and service on campus? And this is aside from chapel. So I know each of us has had a little bit of an experience with that, but Danny, do you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, of course. So aside from chapels, which I know Alea will be able to answer a little bit more on that after, for discipleship, there are groups you're able to join on campus. It can be both male and female. It can be all grades, or it can just be like, for when I was a freshman, I did freshman girls only, so I could build that community with like-minded individuals. And that was a fun experience, just a way to get to know people and get involved. And then now I end up leading my own group, which is so cool. I think Alea will be able to speak more on like chapel opportunities more specifically. So Alea.
Yeah, so I know this person was asking a little bit besides chapel, but we have a couple offices. So the D groups that Danny was talking about, those come out of the spiritual life office. So we have offices on campus that are just dedicated to providing not only an opportunity for you to be discipled, but also for you to, take the role of a disciple, or even just be individually mentored by one another. As far as service goes, I'd say that APU is huge on service. You might know as you're applying to APU, you'll find out that you are required to complete a certain amount of service credits by the time you graduate. It's 120 credits, may seem like a large number, not large at all. I think even like into my sophomore year, I was like almost halfway done. And that is because of how much service is just encouraged throughout all of campus. And that could look like anything. So for me, my service credits looks like singing and worshiping at a local church and serving on the worship team there. But that can be completed within your courses on campus, within individual clubs. If you want to serve with chapel, if you want to serve in any other capacity, if you want to, for example, if you have a passion to travel and serve and do short-term missions, we have like a Mexico outreach program where you go for the weekend in Mexico and serve there for a couple days. You can sign up for action teams where you go long-term over the summer and serve there as well. So service, ministry, all the above. You can hear my dog in the background. All the above. It's so encouraged at APU, and you have the platform to not only just be discipled, but also become a disciple yourself.
Love that your dog is in the background. Mateo, did you have any personal experiences of what it's been looked like to serve at APU in the last couple of years?
I think, through PIO, we were allowed to engage in our community and reach out. In fact, when I was on the leadership team, that's kind of what I was responsible for. And it was a good way to get in touch with actually the city of Azusa and see where they need help and seeing the city. Helping out your city, honestly, it feels so much better. And it actually helped me feel more at home in the city, if that makes any sense. A lot of the time when you go to college, you kind of live in the bubble of the college and you don't really get to see the town except for going out to eat. But being with APU, giving us the opportunities to go and engage in the community made it feel like it was my actual home. like I belong there, which I think is very important when you first get to college.
Yeah, just like we've been saying, there are plenty of opportunities. For the last couple of years, I was involved with Young Life, if you're familiar with that organization. So I got to hang out with middle schoolers every Friday afternoon, which I know isn't everybody's top pick, and that's fine. So the great thing is, again, APU really does set up a ton of opportunities for you guys to get involved and to work on those service credits and to really genuinely enjoy it. So like we mentioned, there are things that you can do on campus, such as getting involved in clubs, but again, in the local area and around the world, there are plenty of different opportunities to get involved in ministry and serve. The next question I'm going to ask you guys is, what biblical classes are APU students required to take? So the first question that I have, or the first answer that I have to that is, we are required to take a class called Christian Life, Faith, and Ministry. And this was one of my favorite classes I've ever taken at APU. I'm super close with my professor. I took it freshman year and we're still in touch. And I really appreciate it because you talk about real world things that are happening from a Christian perspective. So I love that I got to talk about addiction, that I got to talk about race, that I got to talk about politics even through a Christian lens, and understanding how do we approach this with love, with grace, with humility, and what does that look like. So that is one of the really cool classes where it comes back to a biblical basis, but again, you're learning about what's happening and really important things that we should be educating ourselves on. But I didn't know if any of you, other people on here, Alea, Danny, Mateo, if there was a biblical class that stood out to you that you really loved, or a couple other ones that you can think of. I know there's a wide range of options for us as students.
Yeah, I could speak on that. So Natalie already touched on CLFM, which I am such a fan of. That was the first course I took my freshman year. But after you take CLFM, you are also encouraged to take a couple other Bible study classes that are really specific to books of the Bible, which is just such a neat opportunity. So you'll take Exodus, Deuteronomy, or you'll dive into those two books, and that kind of lays the foundation for your biblical studies courses at APU. You also get to take Luke, Acts, and read more about those two books. And then after that, you get to choose from like all the variety of classes they have, whether that is, I personally took 1st and 2nd Samuel, which was a great class as well. So these are just opportunities for you to look at the Bible from more of a scholarly lens. So people will often say like, why do I need to take a Bible class? I already do Bible study on my own time. But this is just a really, I saw it as an opportunity, and it just challenged me to just look at the Bible from a different perspective on what are scholars saying about this, and how can we not only recognize how to read the Bible from a scholarly lens, but also use that and use it to help strengthen your faith as well. So there's a lot of growing that happens in your classes because every single student at AP is required to take it. So that means they're also sitting next to people in classes who aren't Christian. So you get to hear those different perspectives, and those are just amazing when it comes to growing your own faith.
Cool. Mateo or Danny, do you have anything else to add on to that? She kind of explained the best of it, but
she kind of killed it right there. But honestly, yeah, I do agree with her that, right now I'm actually taking a class on Romans and Galatians, and it's just not to say that you can only learn so much by going to church or Bible study, but just having it broken down to you as from an academic point of view, and looking into the Bible as a literary source and breaking down the different parts of it, not just taking it at face value. I think that is so valuable, and it really helped me grow my faith. I'm the kind of person where that's actually, I've learned more about my faith in class than I did in the couple of years that I was going to church and just being a daily, run-of-the-mill Christian. And I think when you become further contextualized and really understand where people's minds were at when they wrote these things, like understanding what Paul was actually thinking when he was writing his letters, it really helps you feel more a part of something that's really bigger than yourself. And also, there's so much wisdom in there. And I think I really enjoyed my time in Bible classes because it's helped me further understand my place in my faith journey.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are definitely going to learn a lot at APU. And it's really challenging, but it's really good. So this next question is, what's campus diversity like? So I know that Mateo and Alea, you guys have both been involved in different ethnic organizations and groups on campus. One thing that I will say is that I love how diversity is something that I think is celebrated at APU, and we have a Center for Student Reconciliation and Diversity where we're able to come and have conversations and ask tough questions and really learn what does it look like to, again, celebrate diversity and see everybody created in the image of God. I've been able to attend a couple different clubs. I went to Black Student Association meeting one time. I went to the multi-ethnic APU group one time when they started that last year. But Alea and Mateo, did you guys want to speak onto the different clubs that you guys have been involved with on campus, and maybe even other diversity, what that looks like here on campus?
Yeah, APU at first, when you're looking at colleges, almost every college has some sort of diversity portion of their pitch. And honestly, I really do think APU stands behind what they say. Sometimes the diversity can be face value. It can just be what looks like diversity and not really, really getting into the deep matters of it. But APU has an entire office dedicated to diversity and reconciliation and how do we interact with each other. And those are what our clubs fall under, our ethnic organizations. And, my experience in the Pacific Islands organization, for me, I grew up in a town where there wasn't a lot of people who looked like me. And, there were other Mexicans, there weren't other islanders. So going to a school just where there are people that looked like me, it kind of sounds silly, but that really meant a lot to me. That there was people there that came from where I came from, that understood me. And if it wasn't for the efforts that AP was putting forth to bring that diversity and invite different kinds of people to our school, we wouldn't be able to have that. And in terms of the ethnic organization diversity, it's also learning about what are some lines that you shouldn't cross? Like I said, I modeled for my costume is our culture. And when I did that, I was dressed in traditional Samoan and Hawaiian attire. And we took that as a moment of opportunity before Halloween to communicate to people that certain costumes, although they look cool to you, are actual cultural vestiges for other people. That there are certain things that we're different, that we do differently. And I feel like learning more about other people is the real heart of diversity, and not just eating each other's food and, me singing songs and playing ukulele. Like it's not about that. It's about really understanding that we come from different places and appreciating each other for our differences. And I feel like APU creates a good environment for us to do that through our ethnic orgs and through our reach out programs.
Yeah, definitely. I have had a chance to be a part of PIO, like Mateo touched on. And even as a non-Pacific Islander myself, I'm still able to be involved. I'm still able to go to the meetings and hang out and meet people through that. So I think that just goes to show that not only is diversity present on campus, but it's encouraged. And that's not only ethnic diversity, it's also like spiritual diversity. So for example, our chapel office, they recognize that, again, not every single student on campus is required to sign a statement of faith or be Christian. And I know that this is something that meant a lot to me coming on campus, because I come from a family where I'm one of the only Christians on campus, or in my household. And so on campus, being a part of a community that welcomes that as well was super important to me. And I see this constantly present in our chapel. They're always going the extra mile to recognize that we all come from different faith backgrounds, and we all may have grown up worshiping different. So we have different chapels because of that. So we have like a liturgical or just the evening prayer chapel, which is your more traditional chapels. We have worship, like we have worship teams that worship in a bunch of different languages. We have an international team, we have a gospel team, we have a contemporary team. So again, the offices and the clubs on campus are always going the extra mile to recognize that, God created us all differently, and that's for a reason, and we're supposed to embrace that and not push that away.
Love it. Okay, now we have a question very specifically for freshmen, but the question is, what did dorming look like before COVID, and how has that changed because of the pandemic? So I'm going to invite Sarah to come in and speak on this as an admissions counselor and from a not outsider perspective, but not as a student now.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, maybe you guys as interns can touch on what it looked like for you to dorm on campus if you did that. But just in regards to what that looks like now in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic, students for the most part, because they are doing online learning, they are living at home. There are some unique opportunities where students are allowed to dorm on campus, but again, those are for really, really specific students. So for some of our nursing students, that applies to them. Some of our international students who need a place to live to go to school at APU. And right now, those students are living in our apartment style housing on APU's campus and are social distancing and following those guidelines as well. So that's a little bit about what that looks like right now in light of the pandemic. But yeah, for you guys as interns, can talk about what dorming looks like for you if you lived on campus.
For me, living on campus was, it was a real, it was a very big of a learning experience and a learning curve, understanding how to live with other people, you know. For me, the way I grew up, I was a latchkey kid, so I was cool with being by myself and operating. But so I really thought that I wouldn't need an RA. I wouldn't need someone to come check up on me and things like that. But honestly, every time my RA knocked on my door, it was a good time because I needed to talk to somebody. I needed to figure something out that I was having trouble with. And I think residence life does a good job of making you feel like you're there for a reason and you count. That you're not just living in the space, you're not occupying, area. You're there living in. It's their job to make sure that you're living well. And I think that's the best part about living on campus is understanding what living well means for you. Not only are you continuing your academic journey, you are continuing your life journey, and feeling out what works for you and things like that, and finding good roommates. Honestly, my first 2 years, I had a really, really good roommate. We were like best friends. We watched anime all night together and ate cereal in the morning. It was really funny because we wouldn't, and I really just enjoyed. If I wasn't in campus life and really wasn't involved and really didn't meet him for the first time, I actually did it through a visit event that we have called Choose APU, and just spending a weekend with freshmen in their dorms when you're a senior in high school. It was a really cool opportunity. And that's actually where I met my roommate, and we're still good friends today, even though we don't live together. That's still, that's my dude, and we talk every day, and we still laugh at things and yell at each other when we're watching each other's shows on purpose because we have the same logins for Netflix. I don't know how we work that out, but yeah. So I really did enjoy living with other people and learning about that as well.
Yeah, along with the relationship building aspect of living on campus, I think logistically as well. Like I remember freshman year being super proud of my dorm compared to like other dorms, like some of my closest friends from high school had went. Like APU does dorming and campus life apartments like amazingly. You have options your freshman year. You could either live in where I lived was Adams Hall, which is our all girls dorm and one of our oldest dorms on campus. So that is like having a house of sisters. And I met some of my like closest friends just through the communal bathrooms in Adams Hall. So I hold that place close to my heart. We also have Trinity Hall, which is one of our co-ed dorms, as well as Angstrom Hall. But then after freshman year, this is awesome. After freshman year, you have the chance to live on a campus apartment, which are just right across the way from APU. So still walking distance, still on campus, still feels like home. And you get to live in your own apartment as a sophomore, which is amazing. And not every university can offer that. So I was able to live in the campus apartments last year as well, until obviously the pandemic. But I grew up around APU. But even after freshman year, I decided to live on campus again, even though I was, driving distance away from APU. I had the opportunity to do so just because although APU does go the extra mile to include commuters as well, living on campus is just so awesome when it comes to getting to know your RA, getting to know the people next to you, and just feeling like APU is your home. So I'm a huge advocate for living on campus, and hopefully we can do that again soon.
Great. I don't want to get too sad about not being on campus right now. So we're going to transition. We're getting a ton of questions about chapel. So Danny, would you like to explain a little bit of what chapel looks like at APU and maybe your experience? And then we'll hop on over to Alea since she's been interning with them this year.
Yeah, so as Alea said earlier, there's a lot of chapel options. That's actually my favorite part of chapel is how much it keeps changing. So we'll have faculty who will, faculty students, we'll have people, pastors off campus and pastors on campus that'll all have the opportunity to speak. We'll also have, we used to have Francis Chan who would come in and he would speak as well at our chapels, which was so awesome. For our chapels specifically, you get to go to 3 each week. And the nice thing about it, as I said earlier, is that they keep changing. So you have our liturgical chapel, which is more It's more organized, I would say, so it's closer to like a Catholic mass. We have that option. We also have a prayer chapel, so we'll focus more on just praying during that time. We also have a kaleo, which it's my personal favorite, and I compare it to kind of like youth group. So there's a lot of energy in there. It's a lot of fun. And then our worship bands are also changing up as well. So as Alea said, we have our international our international band that they will, when they do chapel worship, they'll do it in different languages. Sometimes it'll be Korean, which is always fun because I love learning new languages. So I'm always just trying to like keep up the tempo of what they're singing and learn the new language during it, which is so fun. We also have gospel band and contemporary. So there's a lot of options for chapel, which is my favorite part as well.
Definitely. Danny, you should work there with me. You said it all for me. But yeah, I think that the Office of Corporate Worship is just, especially right now in the season of having to just reframe what does chapel look like in a remote setting, they have been just going the extra mile to make sure that students are not lacking anything spiritually through chapel. Like even this past week with the election, they spend countless weeks trying to think, how do we do chapel with just keeping in mind the sensitivity and everything going on this week with the election. And so I'd just say that speaks a lot to the Office of Corporate Worship and their team, and just trying to make sure that there's something for every student. And again, like Danny said, constantly switching it up. So we've had a lot of our campus pastors speak. We've had some of my favorite professors be able to deliver a message. We've had local pastors from local churches, like Danny mentioned, Francis Chan, so authors, missionaries. So you get to hear from a bunch of different perspectives on different topics, constantly switching it up. So you're never feeling like you're hearing the same message again, even though you're going to 3 every week throughout your time at college. So I love chapel so much because of that.
Yeah, and all our chapels are on campus, super easy to access. If you have like our Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning chapels are scheduled specifically so you will not have classes during that time, so you're guaranteed to be able to go at least 3 times during the week. But we also have chapel, since we're doing it virtually now because of COVID, we are expected to watch chapel twice a week, and they've been uploading different videos for us, but continuing the same habits of having different speakers, touching on current events, and having different forms of worship for us, which is really cool. And you can actually find them on YouTube if you're interested in checking out what those look like. So Sarah, I'm going to bring you into the next question, but once somebody was asking what support services are on campus, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Career Center, what that looks like for us, or the Counseling Center, the Health Center, just different support services that we have for students during their time at APU.
Yes. Am I answering this question? Sorry. I think I missed that. Great.
Yeah, I just kind of threw that at you. I figured you'd be okay with it.
No, that's great. I love that. Yeah, so there are a lot of resources that as a student we offer to you. And again, I think the hope and the vision from APU in that is that in your transition to APU, we want you to feel welcome there, and we want you to feel like you belong there. And we want to set you up ultimately to succeed, right, as a student at APU. So one of the things that I did not know this as a student, and literally blew my mind when I learned this as a staff member. As an incoming student, part of your tuition is a university service fee, is what it's called. And that fee helps maintain campus. It helps pay light and water and trash and all of those things. But something that I did not know that is included in that university service fee actually goes towards our student health center. So our student health center on campus is open and available to all of our students. You can walk in and get checked out. You can have an appointment there at the health center. And that can happen even if you are, for example, if you're using your parents' health insurance, and so you're waiving the university insurance. Even if that is the case for you, you can still walk into the university health center and get checked out. If you feel like maybe you have the flu, you want to get checked out. They have little like cough medicine, like little tablets. They have things readily available to you as a student. And so that's a resource that's available to you, and you're paying for it. So take advantage of that resource, because we want to make sure that you are taken care of as a student on campus. I think one of my other favorite resources that I always talk about is the Academic Success Center. So that is available kind of on both sides of the coin that I'll talk about. So one side is if you are in need of some academic assistance. So maybe you need some tutoring and that is something that you want to pursue. That is absolutely an option for you. And we have students and your peers that can assist in whatever class you're learning at APU. We have a math center and a writing center where you can walk in and get help on an essay at any point in your writing process. So maybe you just need some help brainstorming and you're not exactly sure what you want to write your research paper on. You can walk into the writing center and process through some ideas that you have with some peers there. On the other side of that coin, that is also an on-campus job opportunity. So if you would like to be a tutor, then that is something that you can do as an option as well. And again, that's all through the Academic Success Center. And they offer different testing resources and additional help with test taking and things like that as well. So yeah, those are two, I think, kind of hidden gems that aren't necessarily super talked about to incoming students, but I think are really important for your holistic health as a student as you're transitioning to APU. So those are my 2 cents as a staff member, hidden gems that I didn't really take advantage of or know existed, but are really helpful for you as a student.
Yeah, definitely take advantage of those resources. She was mentioning our tutoring centers. For the last couple of years, 2 of my really good friends are math majors. And as a communication major, I know nothing about math. And so they're the reason that I got to be in my math class freshman year, but they also worked at the math and physics tutoring center. So I would send all of my friends to them and they did a phenomenal job. So going off of that, what I'm going to ask us now, what campus jobs look like in different internships. So I know that Danny and Alea and I have the same internship job right now, and then Mateo's is a little bit different. But Mateo, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience of working on campus and any other jobs or internships that you may have to do for your major or just have been doing the last couple of years? But why don't you start us off with that one?
Yeah, so my first experience with kind of being employed on campus was when I worked at the Starbucks on our campus, which I was there for like all of my last year. But previously, I'd already worked at a Starbucks, so it was kind of already just gelled for me. I really enjoyed it in the fact that they let me tell them where I could work versus like, so I didn't have to worry about, scheduling my classes around work. It was meant to be the other way around, that my schooling comes first. And if I ever had if I ever had a test or if I ever had an academic emergency where I needed to sacrifice work time in order to go focus on school, it was never viewed as a bad thing. In fact, it was encouraged that school should be taken care of first, which I really like that because I feel like when a lot of people feel like they have to work, which is what I felt like, you feel guilty for not working sometimes, for focusing on school. And I think that that's crucial that our dining services allowed us to feel free for that, to focus on school. This is the job that I have now is I'm a student caller in the admissions office. I'm an intern for Sarah, and it has been a really cool experience to finally, this is my first kind of office type job. I worked a lot of manual labor jobs because I'm big, so kind of happened, but it's been a really enriching experience about, in terms of learning more about how the internal and the admissions process works. And, really, I care about the students who do talk to me. Some people that I've called are probably in this chat. So, if I've talked to you guys before, shout out to you. Hope you guys are doing good. But yeah, and in terms of internships, so I'm a psychology major, and so we are required to have an internship. We're required to at least do one semester of interning. You can do up to 2, and it'll count as an elective credit. I currently haven't started my internship because when I wanted to start it this semester, COVID happened, so really didn't work out. But I've contacted professors and the chair heads, and I've been sent links to spreadsheets that have internship opportunities. I have professors that have offered me places on their research team, and you can help them through that. That can be interning as well as helping your professors doing their own research, which is actually really fun because you, as a psychologist, if you're interested in research, getting a chance to see how actual research happens before you have to do it is very, very important, as well as just getting out there. I think interning is a very good opportunity, and hopefully I'll be able to do it soon. I'm looking at different opportunities, but I think it is a great way to really get a sense of what you're doing it for, if that makes any sense. Because sometimes when you're taking classes and you're just kind of in the middle, especially when you're taking most of your major classes by your junior senior year, it feels like, okay, like, can I do this already? Like, can we just go? So interning gives you that taste of, oh, like, this is what I'm going to be doing, and it really focuses you and it really helps you learn what you want to do. So for me, I was a tutor over a couple of summers, and knowing that I loved working with kids and younger people and teenagers and things like that, realizing that's probably where I'm going to go with my degree, is trying to help those kids at that young ages and help them through their mental illnesses and things like that.
Yeah, I could touch on campus jobs a little bit too. That's perfectly said, Mateo. You can get a job on campus for doing anything and everything. I'm learning this more and more as I go. So like Mateo said, he was a barista at Starbucks. I worked in the library organizing books, which was like the best job. So if you come on campus, work for the library. I love the library. You can get a job with admissions like me, Danny, and Natalie, where we give tours to prospective students like yourself. Some other fun things. If you play an instrument, if you sing, you can be on chapel band and get paid to be in charge of the music worship on our chapels weekly. If you write, you can be part of our Zoo media team and write on the Zoo newspaper, like literally everything. If you graphic design, you can sign up to be a graphic design intern for the Campus Life office or the corporate worship office, being an RA, if you have a passion for leading others, do that. So campus jobs are available to you and encouraged. And like Mateo said, it's awesome because you have the support on campus to know that school and academics obviously come first, but then if you're looking to make a few bucks, which is super necessary in college, you have the option. And then as far as internships go, yes, a lot of the departments do encourage you and require you even to get your foot out there in the workplace and have an internship for at least a year in order to graduate. And that is just an awesome opportunity. And if that scares you, know that you have the support. We have a career center on campus, which you can probably even access right now. If you were to Google after this, just look up APU Handshake, you'll see all the campus jobs, all these internships, not only on campus, but in the area as well. So you have the options, and you also have the people to support you in finding those options.
Yeah, again, just like we keep saying, tons of different opportunities. Last year, I was working for admissions. One of my roommates was working for the Center for Student Action, and the other was on campus safety. So plenty of opportunities for you guys. If you want to work on campus, no matter what year you are, there are tons of opportunities to get involved. And it's just fun because when you're working, you get to see your friends, and everybody loves that. Everybody loves to see their friends. And you were all excited about meeting new people, so it's another way to meet new people. So the next question I'm going to ask, Alea mentioned how we are students first and academics come first. So somebody asked, what does the academic workload look for us? So I know Danny, Alea, and I are all communication majors, and we can kind of speak to that. Mateo's in psychology. Another thing that I would mention, that I want to mention, is that there are two majors that especially stand out here at APU, and that's our nursing major and our honors college. Those, I would say, are probably the most intense, the most rigorous courses. You do have to apply separately to get into them. Our nursing program is ranked to be one of the top 10 in the nation. So because of that, there is a lot of expectations. You will be doing clinicals within your first year and a half of being a student at APU. So again, high expectations, but a phenomenal program. So definitely look up more on that if you're interested in our nursing program. And then the honors college as well is something where if you do the honors college, you actually graduate with a double major. So that being said, once you are accepted into the honors college, then it's very reading, writing, and speaking intensive. So no tests, but lots of writing, again, reading and speaking. So those are what I would say are the two most intense majors here at APU, and you can definitely find more information on our website. But I would say from personal experience, you're at a university and you came here to learn. So therefore, everybody understands that you are a student first, and there's definitely a lot of room. There's a lot of opportunities to study, to get things done. I think that professors are very, at least in my experience, professors are very upfront with what the workload is going to be like. Even going into some of my classes this semester, I knew this is going to be a hard class. I'm probably going to have to put in a little bit more effort. But the beautiful thing is that to an extent, you get to pick your own schedule. You get to figure out what time is best for you to study. We have 3 libraries on campus. If you love the library, you can study there. I do not love the library, so I always study in my room, or I try to be with people when I studied. But I would say, again, professors are very upfront with what is expected of you. And while there is high expectations of, you know, getting assignments in on time. A lot of professors do not allow us to turn in late assignments, so there is that expectation that you will get things done and you will turn it in. But they're also there to help us. They're also there to help us learn, make sure we're understanding the material. So that's a little bit of my experience. But Mateo, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about experience in your major and what that looks like.
Yeah, so my journey through psychology has always been kind of fun. I've really enjoyed it. I've regretted it a second. I will say your first couple years, there are going to be introductory kind of psychology courses. Probably you've taken a psychology class in the past, talking about theories, the fundamental, the foundation of what we practice on and things like that. So for the most part, those are definitely the more rigorous in terms of assignments, and you'll have to take notes and things like that. But right as soon as you kind of get into your upper years, it is more about discussion. It's more about learning that you can learn about these things and not have to specifically write them down on a paper. That some of these things you just you can know, and it's also about practicing. Today, even in my drugs, behavior, and society class, we learned about interventions. We learned about screening, taking tests. How can we get people to confront their issues? So definitely, the thing about psychology majors is you'll have a decent idea by your sophomore year of how to actually go about it and what psychology really means in practice. In terms of the professors, I love the psychology professors. I think they're the best ever, the best in the world. I love all my professors. I have professors who care about my future. I've had a couple of teachers where I've taken 3 of their classes in a row, in different classes, but I've had their section 3 times in a row because I love those professors and they care about me. And, my teachers know that I want to go to graduate school. So I've had teachers, I've been at work and they'll be coming to get coffee with a graduate professor and they'll introduce me while I'm there and say, hey, this is a professor for the master's program. Would you like to talk about your plans, and ask him to take Zoom calls and to sit down for coffee. One of the most unique things that I never expected from college was, if you ever got sick or an emergency happens, you aren't in class. I've had psychology professors call me and say, hey, let's go get coffee tomorrow. Let's cover what you missed. So I think a beautiful thing about being in a smaller school is the fact that the teachers know you and care about you and really want the best for you, and they'll do anything to help you succeed. They don't want anybody just to fail. So I think that was really great.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Sarah in to talk a little bit about what does it look like to help us guide and figure out if you don't know what you want to study, but you want to be at APU, what does that whole process look like? So Sarah, go ahead and take off with that one.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. When I came into APU, I know that was something that I was thinking about. I wasn't super sure necessarily what I wanted to study. And I think that's part of what we get to do as your admissions counselor. So once you start that application to APU, you will get connected with your specific admissions counselor. And please use us as a resource to process through what different options look like for you. So we do, in terms of logistics, we do have an exploring major on campus. And so within that major, you have the opportunity to kind of go through some general education courses before you hone in on one specific major at APU. So that's a little bit about what the logistics of that looks like. But again, what I would love to invite each of you to do, if you are a little bit unsure of what you'd like to study, is to reach out to your admissions counselor and talk with them through, maybe you have some specific hobbies or passions, and in talking with your admissions counselor, we can help you kind of define what that looks like and pair some different programs that might really define either those passions or those skills that you have. So please utilize your admissions counselor as a resource. We want to walk with you through the whole application and admission process. And part of what that looks like is talking through majors, right? And talking through what you're interested in studying at APU. So use your admissions counselor as a resource. While you are a student at APU, you will also go through academic advising as well, which is, I think, just another huge resource that APU offers dedicated to your success. So we want to make sure that you are staying on track. We want to make sure that you're able to graduate from APU in 4 years, because that's important to us. And we want you to get out into the workforce and do what you are called to do outside of APU as well. So that's a little bit about what that looks like. while you're in the application and admission process. So again, that looks like talking to your admissions counselor. And then while you're a student at APU, you will go through some academic advising, which I think is really helpful throughout your career at APU. So yeah, that's a great question. Talk to your admissions counselor. We'd love to help you define some of those passions with you.
Great. I'm going to ask a very simple but also very real question that maybe each of us can just share one sentence on. But somebody asked, how is the food at APU? So when it comes to eating, if you're a freshman on campus, you're going to be eating all of our campus food. I think we have a ton of different options for you guys. And we recently got a new food service provider, Bon Appetit, and they're phenomenal. But if you guys want to just share one little sentence on what food is like at APU, because you're going to need to eat, and we want to make sure that that is a good experience.
All I'm going to say is Mexicali breakfast burritos before an 8 a.m. class are key. I promise you, you'll do it, and it's going to be great. You'll probably buy one every day your freshman year because that's all you're going to eat. So
I would say the cafe is like a home-cooked meal every morning. So getting up early and getting breakfast in the cafe is just the nicest thing ever.
Yeah, all of the above, really. I know my go-to, it's on West Campus, it's the barbecue pulled pork mac and cheese. That's so good. But you have like sushi options, sandwich, build your own burger, build your own pasta, pizza, all the above. And then that's just on campus. If you walk like 2 minutes across the street, you have every single chicken place, every single craving you could ever think of. So if you are a food lover, then APU is the place for you.
Yeah, so when I was a student at APU, Starbucks was not yet on campus. And Starbucks, there is literally now a full functioning Starbucks on campus, which I think is insane. So you could literally use your dining plan for anything and everything that comes from the Starbucks. So whether it's merch, which is crazy, you can buy merch with your dining plans. That's literally crazy to me. So you can buy merch. We have those little like bistro box, like salad boxes that Starbucks has that are literally my favorite. So it's seriously a full functioning Starbucks that you can use your meal plan for, which I think is insane.
Yeah, tons of opportunities, tons of great food on campus. You will not be disappointed. All right, we are almost out of time here, so I'm going to ask one more question for each of us that we can answer, but that question is, what made us choose APU? And I know that that is a cliche and typical question, but at the same time, I think that it is very important to find out because we all came here for different reasons and we all came from different places. And, you know, each of you, if you decide to come to APU, will have that same experience. So for myself, I am from out of state, so I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I knew that I wanted to go to a school that was faith-based. I knew I wanted to go to a school that was going to challenge me, and I like the idea of being in Southern California. Let's keep it real. But coming to APU, when I first toured, the biggest thing that stood out to me was community. And I say that because coming to APU, when I toured, it wasn't like, oh, we have this option, we have this option. It was, you get to be involved with this. Your RA is going to be intentional with you and see you every week or meet with you every other week. And you have these different clubs that you get to be a part of because of XYZ or because of your interests. And you get to be involved in serving locally and globally. And it just, again, APU does a really good job of making sure that there is something for you that you can get involved with no matter what your interest is or what you may be passionate about. So again, lots of different reasons, but the biggest thing for me was community. So I'll hand it off to you guys see if there's anything else that you wanted to share about why you chose APU.
For me, it was definitely just a general feeling of people around me and community. Honestly, just everybody, you know, loves each other on campus. It feels like, you know, because our motto is God first. And I feel like people put that first a lot of the time, in the sense that, you know, you can walk down Cougar Walk and see 10 people that you know, and you'll get a hug or a high five from all those people. We can't do that now because social distancing, so I don't hug nobody. But you know, just a feeling of feeling in a community that people cared about me was an important thing. Also, you know, just as a person of, you know, faith, I was excited to go to a Christian school that I had never gone to. You know, I'd gone to public school all my life, so it was a chance for me actually to explore that part, as well as, you know, like not to be brutal about it, but APU gave me more help financially. That was the thing too, that I felt cool going there and knowing that I was gonna be taken care of because I got into a lot of other schools, but they didn't really help me in that sense or in that area. But AP was like, it made me feel like they actually wanted me here to say that we're gonna help you out. Let's see what we can do. And I think that just that general community feeling made me feel like I was supposed to be there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'll share that. Navigating what college to go to, I had applied to over like 10 schools. And it wasn't until I visited campus at APU where I just realized how evident the support is. And that not only looks like community and friendships or finances, like Mateo touched on, but I know that that was super important to me, coming from a family where not everyone had gone to college. So I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what I wanted to study or anything like that. And just through an admissions event, it was just evident to me that I had heard so many people touch on how professors are a resource to you, and that was something that seemed foreign to me. You see college in movies and like big lecture halls and professors that you don't even get to know on a personal basis. That's not the case at APU. Again, we are a smaller school, so there's a smaller class ratio, and that has been just so helpful to me. Like, it was just through a simple coffee conversation with a professor where I changed my major. So things like that are happening all the time at APU, and I think that is even so important now in this remote setting. Like, all of, at least within the comm department, we have established with the professors that we're all just learning together. So there's just the vulnerability that's happening with the professors and the students, like recognizing we're in times that no one had ever pictured. And so the professors are willing to be vulnerable, willing to, yes, they have their deadlines, you can't turn in anything late, but also like get to know your professors, and APU allows you to do that. And so that was something that was really important to me when it came to choosing where to call home, and I have not been let down at all.
For me, I am extremely indecisive. So, in the idea of going to college and picking one school out of all of them was so hard for me. But I went onto APU's campus, and like even the first second I put my feet on the floor and started walking around, I was like, this is where I belong. Like, it was just a feeling I had, and it just kept getting backed up every step I would take on campus. And I'm not like lying at all when I say this, but I met with the head of my department when I was on campus the first time. Like, that is unheard of at any other university. But I was running into people who were like, you want to see my dorm? Totally. Like, come on in. Let's see if you like it. Or let's meet with the head of the department. Like, you don't get that anywhere else. So that was what drew me to APU, was the fact that the community it's unmatched.
Yeah, there's a ton of different reasons as to why you should choose APU, and hopefully we gave you some more of those. But we are at the end of our time, so thank you for choosing to spend an hour of your Thursday evening with us. Hopefully we were able to answer some of those questions for you, again, give you better insight as to what APU is about. Emily just sent this in the chat, but please, if you have questions, do not hesitate to email us. We want to answer those questions. We want to give you more clarity as to what the next few years of your life look like, and if APU is a place where that can be. We also are offering virtual tours, so if you want to hang out with me, Alea, and Danny even more, then sign up for a virtual tour so we can give you a better feel as to what campus looks like and some more information about major specific classes and everything else along those lines. But thanks again for being here, you guys. Continue to check us out, and hopefully we'll see you here in a year or two.